So now I would like to invite Miss Elnura Jafarzadeh. She is the Deputy Chairman of the Social Platform of Azerbaijani Culture and also a member of Youth Diplomacy Forum. I would like to invite Miss Elnura Jafarzadeh to start her presentation, and she will discuss about the impact of COVID-19 on the education of Azerbaijan. Over to you, Miss Elnura.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musawar. First of all, I warmly greet each of you at the Youth Diplomacy Forum. And now, as Mr. Musawar said, I will present to you the impact of the coronavirus on Azerbaijani education. But first, beforehand, I want to say that my speech will consist of two parts. Firstly, formal part. It will be boring maybe, but second part will be informal, which I will say my personal opinions. First, let's start with formal part. Please next, being both a teacher and a student in the field of education during these last 2 years, when the coronavirus has spread in our country, and I think it will help me to provide you with more detailed information because I represent in both fields as a student and as a teacher. And as we know, the pandemic has also affected the world's all systems and also education systems. Like as a country, Azerbaijan was not ready for such an unexpected virus. Please next. At the initial, stage, the education's please previous. Sorry. At the initial stages, the education system of the countries was not able to adequately respond to the pandemic, but simply we followed the process. But in most cases, there were expectations that the closure of educational institutions would be short-lived and soon resumed, but unfortunately, there wasn't such thing. However, after it became clear that we understood that the pandemic would be accompanied by the massive losses and would continue for a long time, and also it lasts, and we don't know the exact time, education systems and began to measure to ensure continuity of education. Okay, please next slide. Ensuring this continuity of education in Azerbaijan in the context of the pandemic has covered a number of areas and stage. Firstly, a 724 staff was established at the Ministry of Education, and information on the station was collected from each educational institutions on a daily basis and summarized and passed on to the operational headquarters under the cabinet ministers. Next, please. Immediately after the discovery of the first case of coronavirus infection in country, the Minister of Education became operational on the next working day, the 2nd of March. In accordance with the President's instructions, the Cabinet of Ministers decided to suspend the teaching and training process and postpone all measures to prevent the spread of this COVID virus infection to intensify medical preventive. And also it should also be noted that at that time the decision to suspend all educational institutions in the country was made by only 12 countries in the world. We were one of them. Next, please. According to the decision from 3rd of March 2020, the teaching and learning process in all educational institutions was suspended in stages until the end of the school year. In order to ensure the continuity and sustainability of education, and it should be noted that this was already the second stage in the organization of education in pandemic period. And as we see on presentations, the organization of TV lessons, the minister started lessons on TV because students, pupils couldn't go to university or schools. First of all, work has begun on the organization of TV lessons at the level of general education, which is wide in terms of coverage. For this purpose, a staff of highly qualified teachers was identified in a short period of time. Technical equipment issues were resolved and TV lessons were filmed. The choice of television to show the lesson was not accidental. Thus, in all the regions of the country, especially in remote villages, there were difficulties in providing students with uninterrupted and high-speed internet access. That's why they started firstly with TV lessons. Taking into account the fact that the state television covers the whole country, it was decided to broadcast the lesson on 2 TV channels. Please, next. As a logical continuation of this work, the next step was the launch of the virtual school, Virtual Mektep in Azeri, in English virtual school project. And then it was the largest national online platform in the country because there wasn't any institutional buildings. That's why students and people must join these lessons. The aim of this project was to ensure the interactivity of broadcast TV lessons and to expand distance learning opportunities in general. And next, please. It was about schools, okay? But next slide is about higher education for students, for universities. In order to ensure the Master of Educational Programs, in accordance with the recommendation of Minister of Education, classes have been organized in high and secondary special education institutions through various online programs. Firstly, I remember it started with Zoom. It was hard. No, firstly it was WhatsApp, then it was Zoom, then we used Microsoft Teams. And I want to note a very important point during pandemic. During this pandemic, in order to minimize the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, the decision of the Cabinet of Ministers on the payment of tuition fees for students who are members of families belonging to social vulnerable groups was also signed. It was very helpful for students who can't pay their dues. And also there was one important thing about teachers. In this period, people saw the importance of teaching. And most people think that teaching is a profession that has no alternative. Because we didn't go to schools, universities, and we need one person who teach us, and this person is their teachers. Till what I have said so far was official information, but now let's move on to the informal part. In this slide, as you say, it is some pictures of my university lessons. Everything at first day, everything was mixed. We didn't know what we must do. Let's go back to the end of the 2019, where the events took place so far. I think everyone remembers the first day of coronavirus. At that time, no one could have imagined that everything in the world would stop and that life would change, that we would face a new world, a new lifestyle. With the discovery of the first case of infection in our country, an alarm was sounded. And since then, the statistic of infections and deaths have changed a lot. It may be numbers in thousands, sometimes 20s. It was very changeable, and this process continues. And I remember this day, the 2nd of March, 2020, sorry, not 2020, I came to class as usual. and the administration says that classes had been suspended. Actually, it was good. It was good, but no, it's not good. If you, what do you think this news was like for a student who is tired of classes? If you want to hear the truth, of course, it was fantastic, as I said. For a short time, we were separated from the university, classes, I don't know, everything, administration, and we had a good rest firstly. Then we started demanding classes because at the end of the academic year, there is a student nightmare that doesn't change in any emergency. As all students know, it is definitely an exam. We had an exam at the end of academic year. Over time, we hope that in return for all the work done, everything would return to normal, but unfortunately, we couldn't see this result. And even though we assumed that we would return to our normal education, but we completed our education online. In fact, we are considered lucky because we live in a remote form of student life. Why we are lucky? Because we have learned to value each other so much. We couldn't see the people, classmates, group mates, our teachers, and we have learned to use the conditions at our disposal in timely and proper manner. And please, next. Have we in time a lot of time, or I have to complete my speech?
Yes, you have you have 3 to 4 minutes more.
Okay, thank you very much. If we speak about education systems, I have to mention here one very important point. However, at a time when we are accustomed to the pandemic, we are not confronted with the eternal enemy of mankind. At a time when the world is on its knees with the corona, our hated enemy is constantly attacking. I think the Armenians saw that we would fight the corona and the Armenians would do what they wanted. But as you know, we don't share our lands with anyone. The motherland will not share. And not only retreat, we have taken back our ancient historical lands, as you know. If you ask me what education has to do with what I said, what is the relation between education and between our taking our lands, I would say briefly that education for us is not limited to mathematics, chemistry, the ideas and theories of scientists. Maybe in other countries it is so, but for me, especially for me, it is not so. For us to be educated is, first of all, to love the country, the state, the homeland, and the people where you live. Our education is not based on a dry shame, formal shame. We study our past, live with pride during our existence, and try to do our best for the future of Azerbaijan so that we can benefit our country and then humanity. Thank you, Mr. Musawar, for organizing such meeting, and thank you for listening to my presentation. Maybe it was boring because I tried to share formal information, and also I wish success to the future activities of Youth Diplomacy Forum. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Elnura Jafarzadeh, and it was very informative discussion. So if anyone want to ask any question, you are more than welcome.